The morning we got back from Aspen, I thought everything was perfect. I was still riding high off what felt like the dream honeymoon. Private cabin, champagne on arrival, hiking in the Rockies, late nights in the hot tub. The kind of trip you imagine when you think about starting forever. But now that I was standing in our kitchen in Austin, watching her fire off texts before she even unpacked her suitcase, it didn't feel like we were in that same bubble anymore. My name's Logan. I'm 32. I work construction management just outside Round Rock. Back in Aspen, she was always on her phone. I chalked it up to work. She runs some online marketing group, lots of networking. Mostly other women she called her tribe. I didn't ask questions. I trusted her. But even on the mountaintop deck with stars overhead and me handing her a glass of Prosecco, she'd been half there. Just smiled, scrolled and said, "Sorry, babe. Just 1 second." That one SEC never really ended. Now, first day home, she barely looked at me before heading to her office and jumping on a Zoom call. "No, I missed you already." No joke about returning to reality. Just, "I need 30 minutes. Through the cracked door, I heard her say, "Tomorrow's the first check-in." Yes, he has no clue. Then she laughed, low and smug, and added, "He'll understand soon enough." I froze in the hallway. My gut twisted in a way I couldn't explain. Check-in? What the hell did that mean? She came out all smiles. "I invited the girls over tomorrow. We're doing a Wives League strategy session, just to talk about marriage norms, expectations. Totally normal stuff." I raised an eyebrow. Strategy session? For what? We just got married. "It's a foundation meeting," she said like I was the dumb one. "It's important. You'll see." She kissed my cheek and went to the bedroom, already texting again. I just stood there, suitcase still zipped, coat still on, listening to her fingers tap the screen like she was typing a mission plan. That night, I watched her fall asleep facing the wall. No cuddling, no goodnight whisper, just turned away like we were already 5 years in and tired of each other. Something was off. I didn't know what yet, but I wasn't imagining it. That perfect honeymoon was starting to look more like a soft launch. And tomorrow, her little League of Wives was about to show up at my door. Next morning, I woke up to the smell of banana bread and lavender-scented candles. I walked out to find her dragging the coffee table out of the living room like she was prepping a stage. "What the hell are you doing?" I asked. She wiped her hands on her apron. An actual apron, like we were in a 1950s kitchen ad, and said, "I want everything set up before they get here. First impressions matter." For what? A casual hangout? She laughed, but it didn't reach her eyes. "It's not a hangout. This is important for the foundation." Like I said, the throw pillows were gone. Our rug was rolled up and leaning against the wall. She'd swapped out the warm light bulbs for bright whites, scrubbed the fridge, and taped up a printed sign near the door. "Welcome, Wives League. Building intentional marriages." I stood there, arms crossed. "You know this is our house, right? Not some startup launch party." She didn't answer, just started arranging mini quiches on a tray like she'd practiced it. At exactly noon, they rolled up like clockwork. For women in high heels and pastel blazers, each holding a leather folder. One of them even had a headset slung around her neck. Another pulled her own chair from the trunk of her SUV and carried it inside like she didn't trust ours. "Hi, Logan," one of them said. All smiles but zero warmth. "Heard so much about you. Can't say the same," I said flatly. They all laughed, the fake kind, like I was a child saying something inappropriate at dinner. The chairwoman plopped hers down dead center in the room like it was a throne. They sat, opened their folders in sync, and waited. My wife stood at the front, clapping once. "Okay, thanks for being here. I'm so excited to begin our first session of marriage ops planning. Today we'll go over structural baselines and establish our household agreements." I thought she was kidding. I actually looked around, waiting for someone to say, "Just messing with you." Nobody did. She pulled out a whiteboard from the closet. Yeah, a whole damn whiteboard, and started writing, "Marriage Operations Guidelines. Spending cap, $40 without partner approval. Social check-ins. Daily emotional accountability." household roles, gender-aligned expectations. I sat on the arm of the couch, arms crossed. Hold on. What's this even based on? It's modeled after corporate clarity systems. The woman with the headset said, clear roles create harmony. So I need clearance to buy gas and a burrito? It's about intention, my wife said, not control. We're preventing friction. Another woman leaned in. Men tend to react negatively to structure at first. But it's not about power. It's about mature partnership. Oh, right, I said. Because saying no to being micromanaged is immature? More fake smiles. Clipboard lady scribbled something down like I was a lab rat. I stood up. You don't just walk into someone's house and lay down rules like it's a boardroom. I didn't sign up for this. You signed a marriage license. One of them shot back, calm as a teacher scolding a student. My wife walked over and touched my arm like I was throwing a tantrum. Logan, please, just hear us out. This is the new standard. It's proactive. We're protecting our relationship. I pulled my arm away. No, you're turning our marriage into a damn spreadsheet. The room went quiet. Then the one with the headset said, resistance is common. Most men struggle to adapt at first. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They weren't here to talk. They were here to implement. Like I was some outdated system they needed to reprogram. My wife gave me a look that said, go with it. I gave her a look that said, hell no. They kept going like I wasn't even there. Like the meeting was still happening whether or not I approved. I walked into the kitchen, grabbed a beer, and leaned against the counter with my jaw tight, listening to them assign my life into boxes. I didn't know what kind of twisted version of marriage this was turning into, but I knew one thing. They weren't done. Not even close. I cracked open the beer and stood in the kitchen, listening. They were still in the living room, laying out what they called Phase 2. My name came up twice. Once in a sentence that ended with early resistance is expected. And again right before someone said, he'll adjust. They always do. Then came the kicker. We're recommending no direct text exchanges with female colleagues, said the one with the headset. Like it was a new company policy. All communication should go through email or group threads for accountability. I stepped back into the room. You're joking. My wife looked up. What now? So I can't text Amy from accounting about a shift change? It's not personal, she said. It's a boundary. Protects us both. From what? Trusting each other. Another one chimed in, flipping a page in her binder. It's about creating marriage equilibrium. Emotional duties fall more naturally to the husband. Emotional check-ins. Mood regulation. Gratitude rituals. What the hell is a gratitude ritual? I asked. Every Sunday, my wife said, like she was reading from a manual. We'll sit together and list 3 things we did that contributed to household peace. That way we stay accountable for emotional labor. I looked around the room. Is this real? Like actually happening? You're overreacting, she said. You're just not used to structure. No, I said, pointing at the board. Structure is when we both agree on something. I jabbed my finger toward the list of rules. This is a dictatorship. Clipboards lowered. The room tensed. Logan, calm down, she said, her voice dropping into that tight, fake patient tone. This isn't about control. It's about building systems. You mean systems where you vote and I comply? She stepped forward, tried to place her hand on my arm again. Babe, don't be dramatic. We're just setting guidelines. Weekly audits? I snapped. No purchases over $40? No texting coworkers? That's not a guideline. That's parole terms. The woman with the headset tried to cut in again. When men refuse to participate, it's usually a sign they weren't ready for adult partnership. I turned on her. Lady, you brought your own chair to my house and started assigning me chores like I'm your intern. She leaned back without a word. I could tell they weren't used to pushback. My wife's face started to crack. Just a twitch near her mouth, like her grip on the script was slipping. She took a breath, but it came out shaky. We're doing this for us, she said, softer now. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I stared at her. No, you're doing this to me. There's a difference. She blinked like she wasn't expecting that. Like I was off script too. I walked toward the hallway. Where are you going? She called after me. To do something without a meeting. I didn't slam the door. I wanted them to hear it click, deliberate and final. The kind of quiet that said, I see what this is, and I'm not playing along. From the hall, I heard papers shuffling and someone whispering, "It's okay. It's just the first session." I didn't say a word, just kept walking toward the bedroom, jaw clenched, heart thudding like a warning bell. If this was the beginning, I wasn't sticking around for the ending without a fight. The door finally closed behind the last one, and I heard the fake goodbye laughter fade down the driveway. I came out of the bedroom to find her wiping down the whiteboard like none of it had just happened. She didn't even look up. "You embarrassed me," she said, calm, cold. I leaned against the counter. "No." I stood up for myself. She turned fast. "You were combative. You undermined everything we were trying to build." "You mean your little control panel of rules?" She threw the rag into the sink. "You always twist everything. You're selfish. You made today about your ego instead of our future." I laughed once, low. That's rich, coming from the woman who tried to audit my text messages. She stepped closer. "Keep mocking, Logan. You think this is some joke? You think real marriages survive without structure? You think real marriages survive when one person's pulling strings behind the other's back?" Her eyes narrowed. "You're lucky I'm even giving you space to process. And you're lucky I haven't walked out yet." That hit her. Just for a second, her lip twitched. Then she switched gears, fast. "You want to talk about space?" she said. "Fine. Let's talk about the accounts. The joint checking we opened last month. Remember that?" I stared at her. "What about it?" "I'll lock you out," she said, stone-faced. "Don't think I won't. You want independence? Pay your half of the mortgage without my income." My jaw clenched. "You serious right now?" She shrugged like it was just business. "Actions have consequences. You want to act like a roommate? You'll get treated like one." I didn't respond. Just let the silence hang there. She wasn't done. "You know what your friends and family will think when they hear you bailed over a few harmless suggestions? You think they're going to back you? Or do you think maybe they'll start wondering if you've got anger problems?" I tilted my head. "Are you threatening me with bad PR now?" "I'm giving you a chance to come back to reason," she said, stepping closer again. "You don't have to make this ugly." "This already is ugly," I said. "You're ruining something we could have built." "Over what?" "A couple of rules that would have made us stronger." I looked her dead in the eyes. "You don't want a partner. You want a project. A checklist husband. One that claps when you hit your goals and shuts up when you make new ones." For a second, she flinched. Just a blink. Then the smile came back. Tight, polished, fake as hell. She picked up the clipboard she'd left behind and flipped it shut like a book she'd finished. "Get with the program," she said, heading for the stairs. "Or get left behind." She didn't look back. And I didn't stop her. She disappeared upstairs, heels clicking like a warning shot. I stayed planted in the kitchen, breathing slow, steady. I wasn't even angry anymore, just wired, sharp, like something was finally sliding into place. 20 minutes later, I heard the shower start. I walked into her office. The laptop was still open. No password screen, just glowing there like it was waiting for me. I told myself not to do it. I really did. But then my eyes landed on a file in the middle of her desktop. Dead center, not even in a folder. Integration matrix. I sat down. First page was a spreadsheet, color-coded tabs, headers, timelines. At first glance, it looked like corporate HR data. But then I saw the names. Logan, Phase 2. Brent, Phase 3. Tyler, non-compliant. Back to reinforcement. There were notes, detailed ones. I found a section labeled Case Logan with timestamps starting 10 months ago, right after we'd hit the 2-month mark. Initial traits: compliant, provider type, moderate emotional independence, mild resistance to imposed structure. Risk, low. Adjustment window, 12 months. I scrolled further. Successful Phase 1 outcomes. Joint financial account established. Social network monitored. Physical affection dialed down to reduce expectation frequency. There was a section called Phase 2 Objectives, with bullet points that matched every weird thing from the past month. Normalize group influence via Wives League. Introduce accountability language, check-ins, clarity systems. Reduce autonomy under pretense of shared structure. Begin emotional reframing. Use guilt where logic fails. I sat back and stared at the screen like it was written in fire. This wasn't some flaky self-help spreadsheet. This was a blueprint. I opened the chat app on her desktop. She was still signed in. First thread was labeled, Inner Core Ops Only. Group chat. Names I recognized from yesterday. Lacey, Brooke, Hannah, Renee. The messages went back more than a year. Lacey started Phase 3 with Brent. He finally agreed to weekly reflections. Renee, Tyler's pushing back on financial transparency. Might need to isolate his fallback habits. Hannah, Logan's still stuck in pleaser mode. He responds to shame better than logic. Use that. I felt my jaw tighten so hard it hurt. They weren't just talking about me. They were managing me, like I was some onboarding project for their cult of efficiency and manipulation. I clicked through the files. There were shared docs titled Compliance Metrics, Redirect Tactics, and Marriage Framing Templates. Every tactic had a name. Every name had a husband. We weren't spouses. We were experiments. I opened Word and started typing. Bullet points, quotes, screenshots, anything I could grab. My fingers moved on their own, fast, no second guessing. I found the printer cable in her drawer, plugged it in, and hit print all. Her shower was still running. Pages spat out fast, line after line of premeditated control dressed up as modern partnership. I grabbed a manila folder and stuffed them in. Labeled it Behavioral Conditioning, Case Logan. Just like they labeled me. Back on the laptop, I opened a blank email and sent the files to myself. Backup. Evidence. Then I deleted the desktop shortcut for Integration Matrix and closed everything down, just like it had looked when I walked in. The water stopped. I walked out of the office with the folder tucked under my hoodie and went straight to the garage. Locked the papers in my tool chest. When I came back inside, she was in her robe, toweling her hair. She smiled at me. Truce. I smiled back. Sure. But I wasn't playing peacekeeper anymore. I was building my escape. The next day, I told her I wanted to host a family dinner. Both sides. Her parents, mine. No explanation. Just that we had something important to share about the next phase of our marriage. She lit up like I just proposed again. Oh my God, she said, clutching her chest. You're taking this seriously now. I smiled and nodded. Yeah, I'm ready to be transparent. She spent all afternoon prepping the house. Flowers, wine, those same damn mini quiches. She curled her hair and wore a pale blue dress that matched her eyes perfectly. Even set up her whiteboard in the dining room corner. Just in case the moment calls for a visual, she joked. It was all theater to her, and I let her direct the whole thing. At 6 sharp, everyone arrived. My mom brought peach cobbler. Her dad cracked a beer and said, So, what's this big news? We ate first chicken marsala, roasted potatoes, salad she plated like it was for a cooking show. She clinked her glass halfway through. Well, she said, smiling wide, I think Logan and I are entering a really exciting chapter in our marriage. Right, babe? I stood up and walked to the kitchen counter. Pulled out a stack of manila folders I'd stashed under the sink. I handed one to each person at the table. The cover read, Behavioral Conditioning Protocol, Case Logan. Black Sharpie, bold, centered. She laughed nervously. Okay, what is this? I didn't answer her. I turned to our families. In those folders, I said, you'll find a series of documents pulled from her laptop and private group chats. Every page is timestamped. You'll see files titled Integration Matrix, Compliance Metrics, and notes logged under my name, Case Logan. These outline a psychological campaign that's been running since month 2 of our relationship. Her mom opened the folder first. Her eyes started scanning, then widened. "This is fake," my wife said quickly. This is some twisted prank." I held up a printed screenshot. "This is you. Messaging Lacey. Logan's still in phase 2. I'll use the financial pressure next quarter." Her dad squinted at the page. "Is this real?" "Every bit of it," I said. "They've been tracking and adjusting me like a behavior case study. Me, Brent, Tyler, and a few other husbands I haven't met yet." My wife grabbed the folder from her dad's hands. "You don't understand the context. This was a private support group. We use structure and frameworks to guide each other through difficult dynamics." "Guide," I snapped. "This is manipulation. You labeled my responses, rated my compliance, and tracked my emotions like I'm some lab rat." My mom looked up, stunned. "This is what that dinner was? With the clipboards?" "She said it was normal," I muttered. "Said it was about setting a foundation." Her mom slapped the table. "You planned this." "No," she said, voice high, panicked now. "It wasn't like that. Your chats say otherwise." I cut in. "You wrote, and I quote, 'Once he's isolated from his baseline habits, recalibration becomes easier.' You called it recalibration." My dad's jaw was tight. "Jesus Christ." Her voice cracked. "We were just trying to modernize partnership. That's all. The language might sound cold, but it's accurate," I said, "because it wasn't love. It was a campaign." Everyone went quiet. I looked at her, really looked, and felt nothing familiar anymore. She wasn't shocked or sorry. She was cornered, mask slipping by the second. "I'm filing for annulment," I said, "based on deceptive intent and psychological manipulation." Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. "You don't get to build a marriage on control and call it clarity," I said. "Not with me." I turned to my parents. "Thanks for coming. Sorry it had to be like this." I didn't wait for dessert. I didn't wait for excuses. I grabbed the last folder off the table and walked out. I moved out that same night. Didn't say goodbye, didn't leave a note. Just packed my truck with what was mine, blocked her number, and drove to my buddy Jake's place across town. He handed me a beer before I even got through the door. Didn't ask a single dumb question. Just nodded when I said, "It's done." 2 days later, I started reaching out. I still had the files. Still had the list of husbands. Case Brent. Case Tyler. Case Alex. I sent out quiet messages, short, direct. "We need to talk. This is about your wife. I have proof." Brent was the first to respond. We met at a diner off I-35. I handed him a manila envelope and watched his face fall as he read. "She called it budget probation," he said slowly. "Told me we had to do it for financial healing." 8 months, I said. "That's how long she logged your spending reports in their chat. Every coffee, every tank of gas." He dropped the papers and rubbed his face. "Jesus." More guys started coming forward. Quiet calls, late-night texts. Some asked if it was a scam. Some already knew something was wrong but couldn't name it. A few cried. Not loud, not messy. Just this quiet, angry disbelief. Tyler messaged me a screenshot. Phase 3 resistance detected. Use emotional framing to reinforce compliance. Repeat until internalized. His wife had used those exact words on him during a fight 2 weeks earlier. The Wives' League disbanded fast. First it was silence. Then it turned to spin. A few of them posted long, vague rants online about males misinterpreting supportive systems. One even hinted that I doctored the files. Said I was bitter, controlling, mentally unwell. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. Screenshots don't lie. And when other husbands started digging into their home Wi-Fi histories and shared Google Drives, the dam broke wide open. Some of the couples split quietly. I heard Alex moved in with his brother. Brent filed for separation. Tyler's still in his house, but his wife's sleeping in the guest room and their marriage counseling has a third-party mediator now. A few tried to patch things up. Said they were willing to rebuild with boundaries. I wished them luck, but stayed out of it. That wasn't my road. I never told the full story in public. No podcasts, no Facebook post, no YouTube rant. All I did was pass the folders along. Let the evidence speak for itself. Her name didn't need dragging through the mud. She'd written her own ending. What started as a quiet warning turned into something bigger. A wake-up call. And every time a guy messaged me, saying, "I thought I was crazy," or "Man, this makes too much sense now," it confirmed exactly what I knew the moment I found that file on her laptop. None of us were crazy. We were just being conditioned. 3 weeks later, she showed up at my door. No warning, no text. Just a knock at 8:30 at night while I was watching TV with a bowl of cold pasta in my lap. I opened the door and there she was. No makeup, wet hair, hoodie too big for her frame, eyes already red. "Logan," she whispered. "Please." I didn't move, just stood there in the doorway, blocking the frame with one hand on the knob. "I need to talk to you," she said. "Just 5 minutes." I should have shut the door right then, but I stepped aside. She walked in slow, looking around like it was a crime scene, like she was remembering it all at once. Me gone, her alone, the wreck she made. "I'm not here to fight," she said. "I'm not here to defend anything." I didn't sit down. I leaned against the kitchen counter and crossed my arms. She turned to face me. "I love you. I never stopped. I lost the plot. I thought I was doing what worked." "Worked for who?" She bit her lip hard. "I was scared. I thought if we built something tight, we couldn't fall apart. But I see now, I pushed too far." I didn't say anything. She stepped forward, hands out. "We can fix this. Counseling. Mediation. We can start over. I still want us." I nodded slowly, then said, "Tell me one thing you loved about me that you didn't try to change." She blinked. "What?" "Just one thing. One part of me you loved without adjusting, measuring, logging, reframing. Whatever the hell you called it. Silence. Not a second of hesitation silence. The kind that stretches. The kind that confirms everything." I waited. She opened her mouth once, closed it, then looked at the floor. I pushed off the counter and walked toward the door. "I'm not a program," I said. "I'm a person. You didn't want me. You wanted control." "That's not true," she said, voice shaking. "It is," I said. "And it's done." She stepped toward me. "Logan, please, don't do this. I'm not that woman anymore." "No," I said, opening the door. "But you were, and I lived in it." Her lip trembled. "So that's it." I nodded. "That's it." She looked like she wanted to say more. Cry, scream, something. But she didn't. Just turned and walked out, head down. I shut the door behind her. No slam. Just that same solid click I gave her back when it all started. Only this time it was final. After I shut the door, I didn't celebrate. I didn't go drink or party or even post online. I just sat on my couch for a while, letting the silence be mine. Then I opened my laptop. The email thread with Brent and Tyler had grown quietly, steadily. A few of them had passed the folder to others, and it spread through inboxes like wildfire. I didn't ask them to do it. They just knew someone else needed to see it. By the end of the week, I was on a group call with 9 other men. Faces tight, eyes tired. They'd all seen the same patterns. Some just hadn't known what to call it. Tyler was the first to show real proof. "I found this on her Google Drive," he said, holding up his phone to the camera. She called it a compliance calendar. Had color-coded days. Green meant I didn't push back. Yellow was watch closely. Red was use guilt shift. Someone on the call whispered, "Jesus Christ." Another guy named Ryan shared a folder full of screenshots labeled emotional redirection templates. They were literal scripts, suggested lines to say when their husbands expressed frustration. Things like, "I hear you, but let's circle back after you've calmed down." Or, "This sounds like projection. Let's pause." "It wasn't a wives' club," Brent said. "It was a behavior lab. We started archiving. Nothing flashy. No Reddit posts, no exposés. Just a shared drive called Unfiltered. Password protected. Organized by name, phase, tactic. Some of the guys added journal entries, what they remembered from their own training. what they were told, what they gave up, how isolated they felt when nothing ever made sense but everything was framed as growth. And slowly, the network cracked. Some of the women tried pivoting. A few deleted their group chats and started fresh with different names. One sent an email calling me a dangerous influence on emotionally stunted men. Didn't bother me. They could say whatever they wanted. The documents spoke louder. One night, I got a message from a guy I didn't know. Name was Derek. I didn't think it was happening to me, but then I found a doc in her shared notes. My name was on it. She called it my behavioral funnel. You saved me. Saved's a strong word. I wasn't trying to be anyone's hero. I was just done being someone's experiment. A few of the guys stayed in their marriages. Not because they forgave, but because they had kids, shared lives, hard roots. Some made rules of their own, no more frameworks, no more meetings, no more treating love like a checklist. Others left. Quiet separations. No Facebook drama. Just boxes packed, keys returned, numbers blocked. I met up with Brent for a beer 2 weeks later. First time seeing him in person. He looked 5 years younger. I started coaching football again, he said, sipping his drink. First time I've had a hobby she didn't schedule. I smiled. Feels good, huh? Feels like mine, he said. We sat in silence after that. Comfortable silence. No rules, no expectations, no worksheets about emotional balance. Eventually, my story started showing up in whispers, through private messages, coffee shop meetups, poker night conversations. Not as gossip, but as a warning. A guy would lean in and say, "Hey man, someone told me to talk to you. I think something's off at home, but I don't know how to explain it." And I'd listen. Not as an expert, not as some self-righteous preacher. Just as someone who'd seen the playbook and lived to burn it. Because once you've read the script, you can never unsee the lines. And I wasn't going to let another man learn the hard way what it feels like to be managed instead of loved. 6 months later, I barely recognized my own life, and I mean that in the best way. I had my own place, no shared passwords, no passive-aggressive calendars taped to the fridge. Just space, silence, and stability. My bank account was mine again. So was my time. I started running 3 mornings a week and joined a Wednesday night poker game with guys who didn't need emotional audits to know they liked me. I wasn't rebuilding, I was recentering. One Saturday afternoon, I stopped by a local bookstore to kill time. I was flipping through a clearance bin near the back when I heard a voice I hadn't heard in months. That voice, sweet, rehearsed, soft in the middle but sharp around the edges. Oh my God. Hi, Logan. I looked up and there she was. Fresh blowout, new coat, and a man trailing 2 steps behind her with the dazed, over-accommodating look I knew too well. She smiled wide and waved like we were old friends. I didn't wave back. Didn't speak. Just looked at her for half a second. No hate, no anger, and turned back to the book in my hands. I didn't need closure. I had distance. That was enough. The guy looked at me, confused, then looked at her. I didn't stick around to watch how she spun it. I'd already seen the first draft. I checked out with my book and walked outside into clean air and sunlight that didn't feel like someone else's approval. Later that night, my friend Mason called. Said he was having issues with his girlfriend, controlling stuff, weird group chats, tone policing. He sounded unsure, a little embarrassed. "You ever see anything like that?" he asked. I leaned back in my chair and didn't even hesitate. "Once you see the script," I said, "you know exactly what role they want you to play." He was quiet on the line. I added, "Just don't read your lines, man. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. And if this story hit you, like and subscribe for more."